Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic from the Indian Constitution, Directive Principles of State Policy or simply DPSPs. These principles are found in Part 4 of the Constitution from Articles 36 to 51. Let's explore them in detail. The directive principles are basically instructions given to the government by the makers of our constitution. They cannot be enforced in a court of law, but they are important to establish a welfare state in India. These principles cover social, economic, and political goals. Our framers borrowed this idea mainly from the Irish constitution, but similar concepts also exist in other countries. So think of DPSPs as the moral compass of governance. One key feature is that DPSPs are non justiciable. That means citizens cannot go to court if the government fails to follow them. Still, they are described as fundamental to governance in the Constitution. The main objective is to create a society with justice, whether it is a social, economic, or political. So, while fundamental rights protect individuals, DPSPs guide the government to work for the collective good. The directive principles are divided into three groups. Socialist principles promote equality and remove economic inequality, like providing a living wage or fair distribution of resources. Gandhian principles reflect Gandhi's idea, such as promoting village panchayats, cottage industries, and prohibition of liquor. Finally, liberal intellectual principles talk about the international peace, protecting monuments, and maintaining justice in global relations. Together, these cover every aspect of governance. Our constitution has been amended many times to add new directive principles. For example, the 42nd Amendment in 1976 added protection to the environment and safeguarding forests and wildlife. Later, the 86th Amendment in 2002 made free and compulsory education for children up to 14 years. Other changes included promoting equal justice and improving workers' rights. These additions show that DPSPs are not static, they keep evolving with society's needs. Since DPSPs are not legally binding, the question arises, why would the government follow them? The answer lies in their sanction. They carry political sanction, meaning people will judge governments during elections based on how well they followed these principles. They also have a moral sanction as they represent the ideals of justice and fairness. And lastly, public opinion acts as a force because citizens demand policies aligned with DPSPs. Despite their importance, DPSPs have faced heavy criticism. The biggest drawback is that they are non enforceable. Courts cannot make the government implement them. Some principles are also seen as vague and unrealistic, like promoting international peace, which is not fully in the hands of one country. Moreover, in some cases, DPSPs clash with fundamental rights, creating confusion. Because of these issues, critics like T.T. Krishnamachari once called DPSPs a check on a bank with no funds. A famous issue in Indian history has been the conflict between fundamental rights and DPSPs. For instance, land reform laws were often struck down by the courts because they violated the right to property. Courts usually give priority to fundamental rights while Parliament tries to implement DPSPs for the larger good. Over time, amendments like the 25th Amendment gave more power to DPSPs, showing India's effort to balance both. Many government programs we see today are actually inspired by DPSPs. For example, land reforms were carried out to reduce inequality. The Manrega scheme gives employment to rural workers, fulfilling the principle of right to work. Free and compulsory education, midday meal programs, prohibition of alcohol in some states, and promotion of Panchayati Raj are all steps that implement DPSPs. So, even though they are not enforceable, they have a very real impact. To sum up, the directive principles of state policy are like the soul of our constitution. They may not be legally enforceable, but they are essential for creating a welfare state. That's all for today. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next video.